Hi, come on in.
And join in. It's the Very Merry Life. Hi, I'm Mary Hendricks, and you might know me as that relatable AF Mama over on Instagram who hopefully feels like an old friend at this point. And if not, it won't be long till it feels that way as we get raw, unfiltered, and very unapologetic in all things motherhood, marriage, sex, and more. From moments worth savoring to moments worth surviving, get ready to leave feeling seen and supported. You have a friend here now, so hey, take a seat. What's going on? Hi, Katie.
Hello, my beautiful bestie.
Yay. So Katie was on my podcast. I think you were my first podcast, one of my first podcasts I put out about overstimulation. And this is our first Taboo Tuesday, Taboo Tuesday. It's called Taboo Tuesday, but I'm calling it Booze Day because we are drinking wine. And
I'm going to give you a virtual clink.
Woo.
So clink, clink. You're
Clink.
drinking red wine.
Yeah.
So am I.
Yeah, there you go. I always drink red wine. I don't drink anything else. But and tea. I have tea and wine. It's like
yes. Look at you, double fisting.
Balance. But this is new. So if you've been listening to the podcast, Tuesdays are going to be kind of a new switch on things. Fridays, you're going to get a little bit more of an inspirational, serious chat. And Tuesdays are going to be a little bit more lighthearted sometimes, because taboos can be a variety of things. But they're going to always feel like you are pulling up a seat and sitting with two of your best neighbor mom friends. Like, that's the way I want it to be. Like, we all live next door to each other and we all just texted each other and said, get your ass over here. The kids are in bed and we're all going to have a little drinky poo together. And that's what's happening.
Yeah. We threw those little shits in bed and here we are.
Yeah. And it's not a guest. So Katie is my co-host for today.
Hello, my beautiful friend.
And that's how every Tuesday is going to be. I'm going to have a new guest co-host on, and I
think this is so great that you're doing this. Like, seriously, it's amazing.
It's hard because the podcast, it's just, I love it so much. But Tuesdays, I was saying earlier before we started chatting, was like, I don't want every day to be so serious.
Yeah.
And I'm tired of talking to myself.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want this to be, I'm not like an inspirational talker. I have things I can put words together very well sometimes.
No, you are very eloquent. Like, I want to know what your major was in college, Mary. What was it?
English.
See, I knew it.
No.
You just, it flows off the tip of your tongue. Like, you just know what to say.
I went in for nursing.
You did?
Yeah. And I couldn't get in.
You would have been a hell of a nurse.
I wanted to be a nurse so badly. I considered going into nursing after I had Spencer.
I'm an ultrasound tech, and I've always thought, like, I could be a nurse because I literally do pretty much, not things that nurses do, but nurses are badass. Let's just raise our glass to nurses. I mean,
I went in for that, and then I didn't get into the program. And I was always good at English. Like, I was the type when I went into high school, like, they have the honors program. And I had teachers in middle school that vouched for me to get into the honors program because my grades weren't necessarily there, but they knew the potential was there.
Yeah.
And then I did the honors program all throughout high school and I graduated. And I think this is like a weird side story, but my senior year English teacher was like my favorite teacher ever. And she wrote my letter of recommendation to get into college and everything.
Amazing.
And so I went to college, met Kevin after college. We got engaged. We went to a family function. I found out that his cousin-in-law's sister-in-law is my English teacher that wrote me the letter.
Oh my God, what a small world. That's crazy.
So we were at a family party and then she comes walking in. I'm like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
And she was like, oh, I'm hi. I was like, this is like the weirdest like coincidence ever. Cause she was just like such an impactful teacher in my life that I was like, this is weird. But yeah, I loved English. So I went into it and all full circle.
Yeah. Well, look at you now.
Yeah. It's all fun. But like I was saying, I don't like talking to myself. So I want you on and we're going to talk sex.
Oh, it's, where should we start? I mean,
we're going to start here because, we did sex confessions on my stories last week. And
I live for your sex confessions.
Yeah. This is the first time I did them where I actually had multiple messages from people saying, I really don't like today.
Really?
Yeah. Like, it was the first time I've actually had people come out of the woodwork to tell me that. And this is not the first time I've done it. I've been doing these for like a year.
I was going to say, this is nothing new. I mean, I
No.
personally look forward to them because I literally pee my pants with some of your, submissions that you get.
It's insane.
Also, I think there's, I don't know what it is, but people feel shameful around sex. And I feel like let's flip the switch on that. Why be shameful?
Yeah.
Sex is it's human nature. I mean, we are sexual beings. And as a female, who has a colorful sexual past, I have never been ashamed
No.
of sex.
No.
And, I come from a family where like my grandmother had 5 children, but, didn't sleep in the same bed as my grandfather, right? It was like, she couldn't, when we slept over, like she never slept in bed with him. Like she was like, it was one of those prudish things that generation did. And then, my mom who, vowed to never be as much of a prude, she still, was a little quiet about things.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like there's something empowering about being a female and about owning your sexuality. And I have, told my husband everything in my past. And, it's like you're in the beginning and I was like, well, this is who I am and this is what I've done. And if you don't like it, there's a fucking door.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking, like, even now we're like almost 13 years in, I'm like, oh my God, I told him way too much, you know?
Yeah.
But he was like, all right, and, I was like, but I'm Leo and I will commit myself and I'm very loyal to my partners. Yeah. So you never have to worry about me cheating.
No, well, and I agree. Cause I think someone messaged me and they were saying, I really don't like today. I said, well, it's just monthly. I said, it's just monthly and just know that I'll always announce when it's going to happen.
Yeah.
And when you see it, just skip my stories for the day.
Yeah.
Like, just know for the 24 hours that it's up or 12 hours that it's up, just skip out and don't look, because I said, it's fine. And then some other woman said, I agree. I also don't like today. I just feel like I forget what word she said.
People get uncomfortable.
It's invasive or something.
Yeah.
She said it was invasive or whatever. And I was like, it's anonymous. And I said, but, and I was talking to Kevin about it. And I said, there's a reason why I've done these. It came about, I think it just came about where I was doing confessions and then sex stuff came out. And I was like, this is so much fun. And the way I view it is like, when I post sex confessions, I never share my kids on the stories that day. Usually,
exactly.
It's like off of it. It's like this is a stepping out of mom into Mary zone, and that's what I want for like my space. Is what I want for this podcast. Is like I want you to come here, and it's not like you're going to hear about mom stuff that is impactful because we're all moms and it's stuff that we're all living through. But at the end of the day, you're Katie, I'm Mary. Like, this is our lives and it's things that are involving us. And it's things that I want us to kind of like, it's a connection. Like, I feel like that's the biggest thing with sex after kids is like, it's one of those things that kind of slips away in addition to the multitude of other things that slip away because we lose ourselves. And sex is one of those ways that I think we can help remind
and
ourselves of who we are.
It's so easy to get lost in motherhood. And I have seen so many friends that literally just dive head first. I think we all do, right? I mean, we're mothers and there's nothing that will compare. Nothing else comes first. But my marriage is pretty on par with my children. Yeah. And statistically there's a lot of people getting divorced. I'm at the age where I'm approaching 40. Yeah. So I have about 6 or 7 girlfriends right now that are going through divorce. Yeah. And, shit happens.
The statistic is 70% of marriages after kids.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the odds are really against us when you think about it.
Yep.
And I think fundamentally when it comes to marriage, people and women, especially because there's so much more on our plate than there is the man, right? The father.
Yeah.
And I have a very my husband's very hands-on. Some days it's 80-20, some days he does more, sometimes days I do more. But like I made it very clear before we had children that we were going to make each other a priority.
Yep.
And the ebbs and flows of marriage are so hard. Relationships are hard, right?
Yeah.
But I really try to make it fun, and not to say that we are perfect. I mean, Kev is just like my husband, Bird. If you guys follow me, Mommy Needs More Wine. We call him Bird. They work shift work. And like, there's times when like, I literally it's ships passing in the wind.
Yeah.
And sex is really like lost on my radar.
Yeah.
But we really try not to go a week without sex.
Yeah.
I know that sounds crazy and some people are like, you're a liar, but it's the truth. Because to me, it's a way for us to be intimate, of course, but also like I'm reconnecting with him, literally connecting with him.
Yeah.
And it kind of gives us like a boost. I don't know. What about you and Kev? Like, I mean, how does that?
Yeah, no, because I think we're literally getting into our groove again. You know, like that postpartum, like you're in a postpartum haze and suddenly you start breaking out of it. And it's like, this is how people end up pregnant again. It's like,
yeah, my tubes are tied, baby.
Yeah, mine aren't. Like he wanted to get it. He was like, we're like little lovebirds, but he's like all over me. And, but we're supposed to get it on last night. And I finally told him no, because I think I'm ovulating and I get very crampy when I'm ovulating.
Same.
And I was like, I'm pretty sure I'm ovulating. I was like, well, you're not like one, it doesn't even sound comfortable to me right now. And I said, we're just like, stay away.
Right and I think that's also, I mean, communication is key, right? With anything. Yeah. But, you know, I think it was maybe after Bryn was born, or you said there, sorry. Yeah. He was like, when are we ever going to, or no, I was pregnant with Bryn, my third baby. And I did not want to be touched. Like, I was like, there was nothing sexual about me. I felt disgusting, right? I'm like, I felt like an ogre. And he was like, are we ever going to have sex again? It was probably a few months. I'm not going to lie. And that we never, like I said, we try not to go more than a week. Yeah. And I was like, you got to throw me a bone here, dude. Like, you know, I think that communication is really important. Like even now, I mean, we're juggling work. I just went back to work part-time, right? After 8 months of being home. Yep. He works shift work, you know, and, you know, some days we have to schedule it. I'm like, yo, we're getting it on tonight. You know, like the other day, this is a little confession. Hopefully my mother-in-law does not listen, but I came home from work and he was with the kids. He was cooking. And I was like, there's something about a man in the kitchen. I come home, kids are fed, happy. He's cooking a meal. I'm like, oh my friggin' God. Like, so I flashed him. And
you should do one of those videos. Have you seen those videos where it's like you record, but you can't see your boobs and you just record the reaction?
Yeah. So like, I just was like, hey, and he like peered over and I just like flashed my tits, right? Like I have huge boobs. They're implants. They look nice, right? They're pretty. And I like, you know, kind of like skirted into the bedroom to change, not thinking anything. Mm-hmm. I am not kidding, Mary. I swear I felt the wind behind him and he closed the door. I'm talking, this is like 5 p.m. Kids are awake. Yeah. And he's like, well, let's do this. And I'm like, pause. The children are awake. The baby's crying. Yeah. And he's like, well, you flashed me. And I'm like, but I was being cutesy. He's like, oh no, it's game on. Yeah. And like, I have a thing, like, I don't like to say no. I mean, I'll say no. I mean, and it's always should be consensual. Let's just put that out there. Yeah. Cause I know people in marriages, they, you know, just do it to do it. Yeah. And it was kind of like fun because it's a quick the kids were awake. They were occupied. We locked the door. Yeah. But we, you know, those little quickies. Yep. It kind of like boosted both of our moods.
Oh yeah, no, it completely does. It like completely just like breaks down a wall. Like Kev will do that if I get out of the shower. Sometimes like the kids are downstairs playing. I'll like get out of the shower. And I look like awful when I get out of the shower with like wet hair and like
a wet duck.
Yeah. God. But he'll like come over. I'm like, oh my God. But it's literally like, cause I'll notice when it's not happening. I notice when we're not having sex. And I can tell you this because even like a month ago, it's been a while since, it's been a month since I've met with my therapist. I have a therapist, by the way. I love my therapist. Yeah. But the last time I met with her, I was actually really frustrated with Kevin. Yeah. And I think it was, and I just told her, I said, he's got a lot going on at work. I'm busy with like the kids and everything. And I was like, I just don't feel we're in a roommate phase right now. We're in a roommate phase. And I think I'm getting annoyed with him and he's getting annoyed with me. And we got snappy with each other. And I can just tell when it's been a while because we completely forget about the partner, like not just partners, team, right? We're not teammates, like we're partners and we forget about that where we're like, no, we're like in love. Like I don't like to call us
Mm-hmm.
I like to call us lobsters. Like we're lobsters. We hold on to each other and that is how we're not letting go. But we
Exactly.
forget about that when we're not having sex every now and again. And it's very easy to do. And her thing that she was telling me, my therapist was saying, she said, try and touch every single day. And she said, it
Yes.
doesn't have to be sex, but touch, hold hands,
Yes.
like come up and rub his back. I came downstairs afterwards. He was like, good session. I was like, we're going to be touching every single day.
Yeah.
And he's
So,
like,
well,
why?
what's your love language? Because my primary love language, if anyone's ever listening, if you've ever read the book, The Five Love Languages, it is an insane, amazing read. And I suggest it to everyone because everyone has two love languages, a primary and a secondary. Have you ever read the book?
No. What's it
Okay.
called? The Five
So
love languages?
the five love
I'm going to look
languages,
it up.
it's physical touch,
Okay.
words of affirmation,
Okay.
gift giving.
Mm-mm.
Oh my gosh. What's the other two? I'm blanking now.
Let's see.
You have to look it up. And it's so good because it basically teaches you how your partner wants to be loved and it teaches your partner how you want to be loved.
Hmm.
So my primary love language, and this goes for my friends, family, and especially my spouse, is physical touch. If I am not being hugged, if I'm not being touched in some way, I don't feel
Love.
loved.
Yeah. It's gifts or tokens of affection, quality time together, physical touch, words of affirmation, acts of service.
We'll be back after a quick break. Eye-Opening Moments podcast are real-life stories of adversity, encounters, and perspectives. They are moments that can lift your spirits, give you some food for thought, or move you. For the introspective mind that likes to reflect, discover, and find solutions or meaning in a complex life, listen to Eye-Opening Moments podcasts.
Yeah. So like acts of service, like, when I come home from work and Keith is making dinner, like without me asking.
That's totally mine. That's totally mine.
So that is Keith's way of so my husband, his primary love language is acts of service. Me doing something that he would normally do, like even like little things like bringing the garbage out or the recycling. He'll be like, wow, that was like really nice of you.
Yeah.
But for him, it's like, that's how he physical touch is not really on his radar.
Yeah.
At all. Like he's just not a physically loving human.
Yeah.
So like he has to kind of bend a little bit for me. I bend a little bit for him because I'm more of a selfish human.
That's Kev, because Kev is more touchy.
Yeah.
Than I am.
And most men are.
But so when I do that back to him, then it's like everything to him. And for me, it's totally acts of service. Like when I came home, when I was gone this weekend and I came home and the kitchen was clean and the house wasn't destroyed.
Oh my God, how great.
I was like,
I love seeing you beam. Like you were beaming after. I was like,
that. I'm gonna fuck your brains out. I was like, I don't know.
Right?
Like, I was like, this is great.
Lay down, Kevin.
But I was like, this is wonderful. But that's totally, and I can tell you because, and I said this on live, I was talking about this on Instagram Live, and I was like, you hear about husbands that are like, and I forget, like you hear about like men, especially because men on TikTok and men on Instagram are just, and not all men. So if you're a man, it's not all men. It's just there's the troll man that likes
the gross ones,
on the gross, disgusting pigs. They come on and they say like, I don't understand. And then they wonder why we leave, or don't come to me, or we'll see you when your husband's cheating, or blah, blah, blah. And I always say, like, if you want us to take your load, you need to take ours.
Literally take their load.
Literally take your load. You need to take ours, because I'm like, last week I had Cassidy, something going on with Cassidy the next day while we're having sex, while I'm like literally starfishing because I was in my head so much about like what to pack her for lunch. Like that's my position, because I couldn't even get out of my head. And I'm pretty sure the entire like time I'm like this, and I'm like, pack lunch, pack. What does she need to eat tomorrow? And I'm like, lunch.
Our brains literally don't stop.
No, it was awful. And I'm like, oh, laundry. I'm like, oh, laundry.
Like, exactly. And like for them, like this is the thing about, I mean, when it comes to like science, men are just sexually driven. They don't need the startup. They can go right into sixth gear. Yeah. Where we're like, okay, can you warm me up?
Yeah. I need a little something.
Yeah. It's one of those things, like, that's why, like, the little quickies, you know, they're really more for my husband, because like that's what like drives him. And I'm like, okay, you know what? And it was fun.
Yeah.
It was fun. I'm more of like, I'm a nighttime person. Let me shower, shave my legs, and then I'll jump to bed with some lingerie. But like, that's not happening all the time. Like, it's just not, because children.
Yeah.
And, you know, going back to the love languages, like quality time is something that's my secondary.
Yeah.
So like watching TV together, like, and I'm just, anyone that's listening, you can be sensual with your spouse without having sex.
Yeah.
It's little things like, touch, like rubbing each other's hands, or just hanging out with one another.
Yeah.
Can be a bonding experience. And the thing is, put the fucking kids to bed early.
Yeah.
Listen, I just told Mary before we got on here, I was like, I threw my kids some night gummies. We call them that. I don't do this all the time, but there's times where him and I can't get out of the house. We can't afford a babysitter, can't get a babysitter. So we have date night at home.
Yeah.
And we have to do that when the kids are asleep.
Yeah.
So I do feel like it brings us back together.
Yeah.
But like sex and marriage, and especially post kids, it's very hard, because like you said, when you were starfishing and thinking about laundry, it's so easy. We can't turn that off. It's very hard for us to turn that off. Yeah. And I feel like I look back at my like sex pre-kids, and it was just game on. Like, what did I have to go and thinking about? It was like, all I had was myself. And
well, we have all the responsibility, especially if you're the default, like you're just the default parent where you're thinking about every list and all that stuff. And it's like, it's very hard for you to turn your brain off. Like, even for me, like I'm this is like 1.5 glasses of wine I'm having tonight, just because I can't, even at this point, I need to I always have wine at the end of the night, because it's like my way of like decompressing. I just need something to
you don't gotta tell me,
wind me down. But it's all of that. And then the touched outness, especially when you have a little baby.
Well, and you're breastfeeding. Like that is a lot, especially. How did she do, by the way, with Kev? And
she survived. I've been working really hard to like not have Haley nurse before naps or bedtime. I guess that was a little bit messy. Like, he told me afterwards that she was just like screaming her head off.
Yeah.
But I was like, she's fine. She fell asleep and she slept all night. So I guess she was fine. But she was, he had to Tylenol syringe like formula into her mouth because she refused it. But I found a bottle of formula. Him. Yeah, he like figured this shit out. He was like, I'm going to just get that in her system.
That's hot, Mary. I mean, Kev is definitely a hottie. Like, I'm just saying. He's a cutie.
Yeah, he was a cutie. But he figured it out. He got it all good. But it was I mean, the touchdownness, like breastfeeding is.
Oh man, I'm just gonna say
a lot of people on your body.
Yeah,
and
I mean, literally, you're giving your body to a little human, and it's amazing. I never had milk supply, so for me, like, it just never worked.
Well, and with breastfeeding too, it's like so if you're breastfeeding, and one of like the facts that my midwife told me, she said humans are one of the only mammals, and there's a few that have sex when they're nursing.
Yeah.
So a lot of animals, when they are nursing, they're young, they don't.
Yeah, they're off limits.
Yeah, they're off limits. They don't do any of that. And humans are the only ones, but I think it's something is lower or higher. I don't really know what it is, but estrogen's higher or something.
Yep.
But that causes you to be dry. That causes why you have to like bring out I have like 10 bottles of lube.
Let's actually segue into this.
A shit of lube. But you have like all these things going on that like just make it very difficult. And I know like after I had Cassidy, because I was a vaginal delivery with her, I tore so badly.
Oh my God. Ouch.
So having sex like in general postpartum, especially because the healing is slowed down when you're breastfeeding also. So like, or a C-section, like my C-section incision still is a little bit sensitive.
Yeah.
Like, things like that are just a little bit harder because if he hits it in a weird way, like it's all just very uncomfortable. And those are the things that like, I don't think women probably are aware of it. Men aren't aware of it. Like, this is a conversation that men should be listening to, because it's like, this is what's going on with your wife. This is what's going on with the mother of your children. It's like, if she's not wanting sex, chances are she probably doesn't feel very good in her body right now. And that could be a pain thing. That could be a comfort thing.
Yeah.
Physical, like the way she
Also,
thinks she
postpartum
looks.
bodies are, I mean, if you are one of the like 1% of women that look insane after birth, bless you, but that is not the norm.
No.
And, I think with women, when it comes to sex, like I have to mentally be there because I think females are beautiful and I want to feel beautiful while I'm having sex.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes if I don't feel beautiful about myself, I'm like, think in my head, why does he want to fuck me right now? Like, look at me. I look like Shrek, like.
Well, that's how I feel. Or like, even like I usually, even to this day, I'll be very honest. I usually have sex with my shirt on. I'm very self-conscious about the way my boobs look.
Yeah.
When I'm breastfeeding.
You breastfed 3 children.
Yeah. Well, and and I only breastfeed on one boob now. So I have one giant boob and the other boob is so tiny. So it's so bad. It's so bad. And when you lean over too, because they're so deflated, like when you have boob implants, like I'm the other day we were having sex. I'm like, I'm getting boob implants. Like, oh my God. Cause you're just, it's like a tube sock with a tennis ball at the end of it.
I do breast ultrasound. So like I literally
looked at you've seen all the boobs
for my entire career.
Yeah.
And most women that have had children and have breastfed at length, unless you're some sort of superhuman, you're going to lose elasticity. Your breasts change, your body changes. Yeah. And feel like let's normalize that. But it's so hard because we think our bodies are just going to go back to what they were pre-baby. And some people do get there, but still bodies are different after babies and boobs are different.
Yeah, that's why I never bouncing forward. Fuck the bounce back.
Bouncing forward is right. I love that, by the way. I love that.
It's such bullshit because it's like, I will never go back to, I have you do too. We have huge C-section scars across our abdomen. Like insane. I can be in the best shape and my body will still never be what it was before. Yeah, and my belly button will forever be jacked up because I was pregnant. But it's just like,
for sure, my belly button too. It's awful. Third baby, like hello.
Yeah, but it's just like all these things where it's very hard to stomach because we've just been made to feel whatever. And I shared on TikTok the other day. I did it on Instagram also, and I archived it for a little bit because I started getting really like self-conscious about it. And it was a joke. Yeah. It was more like when my husband complains that I never wear sexy underwear anymore.
Oh yeah. I love that.
Because I only want to wear granny panties. One, Kevin's never said that to me ever in my life. He could give a shit because it comes off anyhow. And it was more just like, it's a joke. Where like,
it's a joke. Yes. Yeah,
I want you to stop wearing granny panties. And I turned it off on TikTok. I finally put it back up because I needed the algorithm to slow down because I was in 2 hours. It hit over 300,000 views on TikTok. And I could tell
it could be overwhelming.
Oh, but the comments coming in on TikTok were all from men saying like, this is why, don't worry, his side piece will wear it.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Like all like he'll cheat on you. I hope you're okay with him having a girlfriend soon. Like all of these things. And it was awful. And it got to a point where I was like, and then someone on Instagram commented saying like, clearly this, she clearly disrespects her partner's wishes.
Oh my God. As if we're servants to them. Like, give me a fucking break. Like,
well, that's the thing. I was like, I'm not like that. It's such bullshit. And I'm like, these men right now that we're all commenting, I'm like, you guys forget that like postpartum is such a weird time. And how about,
it's so weird, Mary. It's like, so weird.
Kevin would never say this to me because Kevin knows that I'm like in my head so much where he was like, if I'm wearing granny panties, he knows it's chances are it's probably because I'm not in
a sexy mood.
Yeah. So like whatever it's called, but like everyone forgets that and I wanted to say back and I didn't even bother, but I'm like, I recently saw a talk and it was a pastor talking and it was a marriage. It was a TikTok, but he was talking to a couple and it was a husband and wife. And I think the backstory was his wife actually has cancer and he was doing the ceremony for him. And I was listening to his homily or whatever, the sermon, or whatever he was saying. And he said, what a lot of people do when they get married is they think it's a contract. We always think of it as a contract thing. We think of in sickness and in health and whatever. And he said, people think of it as, we sign A, B, and C, but if all of a sudden something presents itself different, then you are allowed to void the contract. And that's how people are thinking, is that they're thinking this is a contractual thing. So if someone looks different, void the contract, divorce. If sex isn't the same anymore, void the contract. He said, and you go through all of these things. He said, it's a covenant. He said, that is the thing that you are signing on for. So it's your thing where things are going to go through ebbs and flows. And that's the marriage portion.
Yeah, it's going to evolve. I mean, you can't, Keith and I got married. We were 26, 27.
Yeah.
You know, our lives were so different.
Yeah.
And there are times like I do try to spice it up because I'm like, you know what? And also I like lingerie because I feel sexy in lingerie, and you can get some really sexy, beautiful lingerie on Amazon, by the way. But you know, he has never said no to me.
Yeah.
Ever. Harry, I haven't showered. He's like, I don't give a shit.
Yeah.
Like, I'm literally like, if he tries, I'm like, oh, I haven't showered. He's like, you think I fucking care?
Yeah.
So like, if I'm wearing granny panties, like you said, they're coming off anyway.
Yeah, they're coming off.
You know, like I just, this whole mentality of like, women are here for your sexual desire is a bunch of bullshit.
Yeah.
And the thing is, I want to be sexy for my husband. Yes. But I want to be sexy for me.
Ew. Yeah.
Like I want to feel sexy, and like there are times where I don't. I mean, like tonight, like I had all 3 kids. I worked all day. I looked in the mirror and I was like, "What? Who is this?" You know, and like it's so easy to look at pictures of yourself from pre-children and be like, you can't even recognize that person, you know. Yeah. But I feel like as I've evolved as a mother, I've evolved as a wife, and our relationship has only strengthened because he loves me in all of these phases. He's seen me through everything.
Yeah.
And if your spouse cannot handle the fact that your body has changed, then get the fuck rid of them, or bring them to therapy, you know, like,
because that's a them issue. That's not a you issue.
That's exactly.
That's definitely not a you issue. That's like the biggest crock of shit where I hear, and some of the things women message me on Instagram, I'm like, God, I'm like, fuck whoever you're with. I'm like, get the fuck out of that. And I don't even understand it either, because I'm like, did they get into these situations not knowing that this is how it's going to play out? And like, what happened? Like a lot of the,
I know what happens. People think we think that we can change men. I mean, the biggest thing when Keith and I got married, we had to go through pre-Cana because we're Catholic, whatever.
Yep. Same.
We kind of like rolled our eyes. But they made us do an interview with this older couple.
Yeah.
And they were married like 6 years, and we had to go to their fucking house. And I was like, oh my God, this is awful. Right.
Yeah.
It wasn't. And they were so open and honest. And I said, you guys have been together 6 years. Like, what is your magic potion to this? And they said, the man was like, we were sitting on their sofa that had like, you know, covers on it.
Yeah.
And he's like, I want you guys to face each other. And I was like, we were like, okay. And he's like, you see the person sitting across from you. And we were like, like, I was like, where is this going?
Yeah.
And he goes, marry the person for who they are today.
Yeah.
Because they're not going to change who they are. And if you can accept all their flaws and all their good and bad, I feel like women, and we've all been in those shitty relationships, like you kind of know the guy isn't good for you, or the girl isn't good for you, whatever your sexual preference is.
Yep.
And you kind of just go with it because you think they might change.
Yeah.
Like I was in a relationship where it was an ex-boyfriend of mine, and he would want sex like every day. Like that is not healthy. And that's to me like, oh, like I was just like, what am I to you? You know? Yeah. And I didn't feel respected.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's so important, to feel respected and loved. And I mean, my husband, I hit the jackpot, and we're not perfect, but my God, we're pretty damn close sometimes. I'm like, I look, you know, we're in this world where so many people are getting divorced, and I'm like, okay, I get nervous. I'm like, are we okay?
Yeah.
Like, and so for me, like sex is something that I can be intimate, and it's nice to feel because I feel loved by him.
Yeah.
But you know,
it's almost like, for me, I'm so glad that we're kind of getting into like, again, breaking out of like the baby, like haze.
Right. We're both
like,
there, Mary. Like our girls are only a few weeks apart.
Yeah. So it's like that 9 month, like where they're almost 10 months. Brent's 10 months.
Yeah. Almost 10 months. The 17th.
Yeah. So it's December, like, they're almost there, where it's just like, you can see the light at the end of the tunnel of like,
oh my God, right.
Being awake again. And it's so nice. And I think for me, especially, like, I'm just glad that we're at this point, because I think right now for me, I know you're done having kids, but I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah.
And I just need some glimmer of us, because we've been trapped in such a mom and dad role for so long, where if we are done, I need to remember, like, it's just us after this. Like,
right. Like,
just
right
after this. And that is like sometimes a really terrifying thing when you haven't connected for a while, where you're like,
there's so many
you're like
that don't.
No. And that's really important. Like, it's so important to stay connected, and it's hard. And you have to make an effort to do that, because after the kids are after you're done having babies, and once the kids are grown, it's just you guys.
Yeah. Then
And
you have
I
to
think,
learn to like each other again. Like, I don't want to get there. I don't want to, and I said this
no,
on my
I don't want to
stories the other
forget
day.
that. Yeah, I don't
Yeah.
want to forget that. So, and that's why, like, when I talked to my therapist like a few weeks ago, I was like, I'm starting to not really like him. Like, and
Yeah.
I think it was just a one-sided thing, but I was like, I really don't like him. And I was like,
Yeah.
and I can tell that if I don't fix this, I'm just going to keep on digging myself deeper into this. And I was like,
Well, that's
and
what happens.
I
I
get
mean,
that.
communication is huge in relationships. Communicating how you feel. Like, I physically can't hold anything back.
Me
Like,
neither.
like if I'm like, if I'm feeling a type of way, I tell Bird, I'm like, hey, you're an asshole today. Fuck you. Like,
Yeah.
I don't really say fuck you, but I'm like, change your attitude, or I'm not,
Yeah.
but, and he had to learn how to be more open, because I'm like, we won't work if we don't communicate with each other.
Yeah.
And I get so nervous that what if, and I think it's so easy to do the what ifs, like, what if we lose each other and we fall out of love, right? Because
Yeah.
I know that I won't cheat, and I hope the hell he won't. But
Yeah.
sometimes people just fall out of love because, like you said, they dig their hole too deep. They can't get out.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, no, we're not doing this.
No, well, and that's why, like, I could, and I think it was like, sometimes when you're postpartum, it's normal, by the way, to hate your husband when you're postpartum.
Oh yeah. I mean, they're not the
like,
ones getting up at 3, 4, 5.
No,
in
the
morning.
resentment can be there. And I think I was getting really resentful before this weekend of like leaving and things like that, where I was like, just, I don't like you very much, because I'm the one, like, I'm number one and I'm tired of it.
Yeah.
Tired of being number one. But again, like I said, I could tell that it's happening. And that's what ends up happening, is it becomes tiresome. And then that effort just kind of disappears. But it has to be I think it's enough for one person. Sometimes I do believe that one person could be enough to fix it, but it also has to meet in the middle. Like, you
have to meet in the middle, and
effort.
I think that's a great point, because I've always told my husband, like, if I feel like we're drifting, I'm like, hey, we're drifting.
Yeah.
Let's come back to center. And I've said this to him for 13 years.
Yeah.
After we had the kids, after our first son, it was, that first baby, I don't know if you can agree, but that first child, I felt like I lost who the hell I was. I had no idea what I was doing. Right. None of us do, but I really felt like, who am I? And now I'm a mom. Like, I just felt like felt so lost. And he luckily was like, all right, I'm going to help you through this. And thank God I had that. But like, we always tried for date night, and it's not always easy, because life, but now we're 3 kids in, and I already know what's going to divide us. Like, it's usually when we're working too much.
Yep.
And we don't get alone time. I feel like you need that alone time. And even like sitting on the couch watching Yellowstone, that's our new obsession.
Yeah.
Like, I'm like, oh, okay. Like, it's just nice, but it's in the early phases of postpartum. It falls all on the mother, and our anxieties, our worries are insurmountable compared to theirs. I remember I brought the baby home, literally. She was home, and my middle one had the stomach flu that night.
Yeah.
And let me talk, like those like nighttime scaries when they're newborn. Oh my God. It's like nothing compares to that anxiety of the nighttime, and everyone's sleeping and you're awake with a baby, and you don't know what your night's going to be like. And I hated him, because I was like, this fucking asshole's just sleeping soundly, but I also know, like, okay, in the morning, he's going to take the kids, the 2 bigger ones, off to the park. Like, those are the things. I feel like relationships are hard. Sex after kids is hard, but make it a priority. Like, I have a friend that she's like, she breastfed for over a year, and she's like, I don't want to be touched, and I don't really like him. And I'm like, you know what? That's fine. And, that's okay. And they ended up going to therapy. And that's another thing, like therapy, like, let's normalize couples therapy. Let's normalize therapy as an individual.
I want to do couples shit, because I only do myself. Like, I only do therapy for myself, but I told them I want to do therapy, like,
I'm nervous. I would be nervous.
I would be too, only because I would be afraid that I would be like digging up shit just to have a reason to talk. So I'd be like, so I'm okay as solo. I do think Kev needs to go to therapy. Kev, if you're listening, go to therapy, because I think it's great for all of us. I'm like a big therapy. Like, now that I started and I've realized how beneficial it is, I'm like, everyone needs therapy.
Everyone.
But I think couples therapy is such like a taboo thing too. I think that's a huge taboo thing because you hear about it. And when you hear someone's doing couples therapy, you're like, oh, shit's going
You're
on.
like, something's going on.
Yeah.
If it can only enhance your relationship. And if it doesn't, that relationship's bound to fail.
Yeah.
Because, and I do believe it has to be both parties wanting to do it. I mean, I definitely could probably benefit for therapy myself, but, you know, I always ask Keith, like, what don't you like about me? And I already know, like, he thinks I'm a bottomless pit. He's like, nothing's ever good enough. You always want the next best thing.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you know what? He's right.
Yeah.
So like, I really try to quell that. And like, for me, his like con is that, and I know this isn't a con, but like he works too hard.
Yeah.
I get pissed off when my husband works too much. Is that insane? Right? Am I nuts? Like my mom's like, you're out of your fucking minds. I mean, would you rather him be at the bar? I'm like, okay, true.
True.
But like,
no, but that's how Kev is because that's how Kev cares so deeply about work.
Yeah.
That like something went on with work not too long ago and he was like so upset about it or no, what it was his flight. He was meant to go fly somewhere and his flight got canceled.
And he couldn't like make it
home. He didn't make it. And he came home and he was so annoyed and he said it and he was like, you don't understand, Mary, this is my purpose. And I looked at him and I was like, I didn't say
what are we, an afterthought?
Afterwards. And I didn't say anything. And then I waited. And then the next day, I like, after the kids went to bed, I shut down all the TV. I shut off everything. And we had like a good heart to heart. And I said, dude, like, this isn't your purpose. Like, this is not your purpose. Us is your purpose. All of that is just extra noise. And I said, I know that it's something you're passionate about. It's a passion. It's not your passion. Purpose. So I said, that's what you need, a reminder. And he like needed that like deeply. He needed to come to Jesus moment. And I've needed that though. Like I've had reminders of being like, Mary, like calm down a little bit because I get a little over like worked on certain things.
That's me. Yeah.
And he's just like, dude, you need to chill out. But I'm anxious. I'm just an anxious fuck. I'm like, always.
I'm so anxious. I actually, I wish I wasn't so anxious. I envy the women and mothers that aren't, because I'm like, where is that? Can I just join that group of women that are just not like, you know, the mothers are like, what it'll be. I'm like, what? You know, I can't. I'm too high strung. Like it's a flaw, and it's also an act. You know, it's a good thing too.
It's a good thing. I didn't realize how high strung. Yeah, well, I didn't realize how anxious I was until this weekend, where I was like, when I left with Cassidy, I was like, I'm pretty chill when I'm in my comfort bubble. The moment I pop my bubble, I am like,
I have to be honest, I'm proud of you.
Like,
you know, you see me, like I'm carting around town. I'm blah, blah, blah. I'm doing my girls' nights, date nights. Like I saw you and I was like, you know what? I know this is going to be a hard day for her. I knew it. I was like, and you, like you said, it was like the longest you've ever been away from Haley. But like how great that, like you said, you came home and like shit was handled. Is that not great?
Well, it was so great because I think Kev knew, and I didn't ask him to do it. We've had many conversations about that before where it's had to get to this point, but I think he just knew, like I was the one calling him all day. Like,
he's probably like, Mary, she's fine.
Yeah. Like he didn't call me, which I honestly, like, that's why I put a reel out and I said, don't be calling like a million times. Like that's the best thing a husband can do is like, act like, you know, what's going on. Like act like,
even if you don't, figure it out.
Yeah. Act like a dad, figure it out. Because I you know, I don't call Kev a million times. Sometimes I do because I'm bored as fuck, but I'm like, I don't call him saying like, I don't know where things are. I just figure it out because I don't want to bother him. And
exactly. I mean, I have friends, and I'm sure there's plenty of people listening right now that they have literally never left their kids with their husband. Yeah. Their husband has never done the bedtime routine. Their husband has never been left alone for an overnight with their kids. And like I want to tell those women and tell you too, Mary, like you can do those things because, you know, it's important to have your own time because we were once not mothers, right? Like it's so hard though. And
it's well, and I wanted it more. And like, I put the reel that I did yesterday talking about that. And I said, I want this as much. And I think I put a note saying like, if someone sent this to you, it's not because they're mad or anything. It's just because this is something on their heart. And they want this as much for you as they do for themselves. Because I think that's the thing, like like even when I left, Kevin's mom ended up coming over later in the day, and I was actually kind of annoyed about it because I guess she called and she was like, well, I know you're here with baby. You might need help. And Kev was like, I don't need help,
Yeah.
but she's done that before. And I get really pissed about it because I'm like, everyone needs to stop babying him. Like
Yes.
he is a dad. Like he is their dad. He's not the babysitter. He knows what he's doing. And I want that confidence boost for him, because if we keep treating men like they don't know what they're doing, they will never figure it out.
Yes.
We've always just made men. We've always babied them. We baby men. We need to fucking stop babying men.
Stop babying them.
Like,
let them just throw them to the wolves. The children will be fine. Like you said, at the end of the day, Kev had a syringe formula into Haley's mouth. Oh, so be it.
He did it.
She
he
woke
figured
up
it out.
the next day, fully rested. And it's one of those things. And like you said, like you came home and you're like, I'm going to fuck your brains out. Like, those are, listen, if there's any men listening, we are simple creatures, women. I mean, maybe we're not so simple. It
takes us a lot. It does not take much.
It takes me nothing. Like if Keith was like do little things like I'm going to bring you a coffee, or he'll just come home with my coffee.
Keith came in the kitchen right now. If you were in the kitchen in the morning and he looked at you and said, you look beautiful this morning, you'd be done. That's all sometimes.
And you know what? It's so funny when I tell him like words of the affirmation, Bird, like tell me I'm pretty. Because he says all day long, I love you, love you, love you. But it's like he says it so much that it's like it loses its, meaning in some ways. Yeah. But like when he does say things like you look so beautiful, or I'm just like, I'm like, are you fucking with me? Because like it's so not the norm.
Yeah.
And it's those things I'm like, oh wow. Or like he just says things like, you're a really good mom.
Yeah, catch him off guard. Anything that would catch your wife off guard, do it.
Yeah. It's like when he gets like, Bird, you're like such a good mom. And I'm like, oh my God, like those things. Cause he's not, like I said, he's a, I don't know. I feel like I need to have a podcast with Bird. I need to, with him, you have to pull the layers. Everyone thinks, everyone's like, he's miserable. He looks so sad. He loves me. Like he's obsessed.
He's a first responder. That's why I know.
They're just like, they just,
he's like Kev.
Him and Kev. I swear, next time I'm in New York, I'm coming to Jersey.
Please. We'll meet you in New York City. We'll come for a week, like a little night out on the town. But, that's how Kev is. Cause when people see him on my stories, they're like, because he's stoic, like he's a very stoic figure, and his humor isn't as, but if you see him at home, like off camera, he's like the goofiest man ever, but it's a first responder thing. So they're trained to act like that, and it's annoying.
Exactly. And I think also their positions, like Keith's a captain with the fire department. Like, I mean, I've definitely like videoed him in like precarious situations where I'm like, maybe I shouldn't post this about him in his underwear. But I mean, I actually feel for women that are struggling in their marriage, because there are so many women struggling with their marriages, and it's hard to be like, go have sex with your husband, right? If you're struggling, it's like, no, that's the last thing people want to do.
No.
And what I say to these women is, talk, communicate, because once you communicate and talk, and if both parties are, want to receive the information well, you're only going to blossom, and your relationship is only going to get better. Yeah. But if you stay quiet and get pissed off, like he didn't make the kids breakfast and I asked him to do that, or he didn't do this, like a lot of the things like that pisses me off is like, if I ask for something to be done, just do it.
Yeah.
But nourish your relationships. Like I said this on stories the other day, like you have to nourish your relationship just like you would your own relationship with your children.
Yeah.
Like this is why marriages fail, because people it's like, oh, well, I'll put it on the back burner. Like, don't do that. It's so easy to do that though. Right. Like, I mean, we have 3 children, you have 3 children. Like, it's just like right now it's about the kids, but when they're all grown up,
it will only be you.
It'll only be us.
Yeah.
And I never want to feel like I don't know who he is. That is so scary to me.
Yeah.
Like when, looking 18 years down the road, am I still going to like you then? I fucking hope so.
Yeah.
I will never let us drift that far. And if we do, God strike me dead. I mean, I'm so afraid.
But I think that's so important. What you're saying, I think it's so important to notice that drifting. Like, I think that's why when I talked to him a few weeks to my therapist, I literally, and then the weekend that it happened, and I was telling her about it, I said, we got so snappy with each other, and I walked out the door. I was like, I'm bye. And I brought Cassidy with me, and he came out, and I was like, I didn't even want to say goodbye to him. I didn't want to see him. Like, I was so pissed. And he came out, and I just looked at him. I said, we're not nice to each other. He was like, what are you talking about? I said, we treat each other like we're roommates, and we're not being very nice to each other. And he was like, that's not true. And I was like, no, it is. And after I came home, then we had like a big talk, but it's just like noticing. And sometimes I think we get it's very uncomfortable to notice the drift.
Oh yeah. Cause you're like you said, like, you're just like, I mean, obviously you're sleeping in the same bed, but it's like, you haven't spoke, or, you know, like it's, how are you? Do you feed the dog? How are the kids? When's, you know, XYZ, like nothing, there's no value to certain conversations.
Yeah.
You know, really ask your spouse, like, how is your day? Or let's talk, or, you know, it's important. Like you saying you turned off the TV, you turned everything off, you had a conversation.
Yeah.
Those are hard conversations because it's uncomfortable, because sometimes people don't want to admit a lot of it
what I used to do when I used to get uncomfortable with that. And this is like a tip that I can share for anyone listening. If you're getting stuck in a position like that, like I used to be very accusatory. So I used to go and be like, you make me feel like this, or this is what you're doing, and blah, blah, blah. And then immediately you greet someone with accusations. They are going to be on guard, and the conversation is going to go terribly.
Yes.
It's never good to go in sounding like it is all their fault. You have to go in with I feel statements. So I feel when you do this, I feel like this is how you feel. Like you make it very open-ended, where it's like, maybe they're not doing that, but this is how your actions make me feel. And that's what I think is happening. And you might be completely wrong. Like, most of the times we are. Yeah. Women are very in our head. Like we tend to just overthink everything that they do. And men don't even know, like
they have
a lot of times
their brains are so different than ours.
No, they don't think about this stuff. That's even why, like, leaving the house for the weekend, when you come home to a mess, like, I don't think men are doing it to be dicks. I think they just don't know. Like they don't realize. And a lot of men may have not been, I know for Kevin, like he wasn't raised in a situation where like that was modeled for him. But I know with like my dad, when I grew up, my dad, all my siblings will remember this. When my mom used to go out of town to go visit her family in Chicago, when she would come back, you knew when she was coming back, my dad was like,
clean the fucking house.
Yes. Like he was going nuts, and he was like snappy. And like, we were like, oh shit. But
because your mom probably rolled in there. Like, I'm sure if the house is a mess, I mean, that's the first thing I like when I come home, and like, I think men tend to like let the kids just like run amok through the house. And I'll be like, what the fuck? Why does it look like this in here? Like, I mean, it happened the other day. Like I came home from the shower. I think it matters to like set that expectation. I think it's important to set that expectation of what you hope to find when you come home. And obviously like men come home, and I mean, Kevin's come home to the house being a bomb all the time. Yep. But I think the difference is like what I've been hearing is like you get home and the mess is for me to clean up. Like that's bullshit. So I'm fine if I come home and I know it's been one of those days where he did what he could and the house is still a little bit of a disaster. As long as he helps me clean it up, then that's fine. Like it is what it is. I'm just glad that he was able to figure it out. I think it just more gets frustrating. Like for me, I know I used to get frustrated about it because I used to tell him, I'm like, is this what's going to happen if I die? Yeah. Right. Like
he was like, Mary. And I'm like, but seriously, this is the stuff that goes through my head, Kev. It's like, I look at this and being like, what happens if something happened to me? Is this what my kids are going to be raised in? Like a dismantled house where like you're cranky because you feel scattered and you don't know what is going on. Yeah. Like, I need to have that confidence that you can raise these kids without me. Like that's what I want, and raise them well. Not just raise them. I want you to raise them well.
Raise them well. Yeah.
So it's like, that's important, but
it is important.
Conversations have to happen in order for
they have to happen. And the thing is, people don't want to have those conversations because a lot of the times you have to admit to your own faults. No one's perfect. There's not a perfect person in a relationship.
No.
You know, everyone has their flaws. And I think you have to sometimes swallow your fucking pride and be like, yeah, you know, I've been snappy, I've been bitchy, but I feel this. Like I do a lot of, I feel like, and then there's sometimes I'm like, you're just a dick, you know, like, and he is, my husband, he can be a real dick. Yeah. And for me, like, I say it with love. I'm like, you're being a dick again. Can you just stop? And he'll be like, you're being a pain in my ass.
Yeah.
But we try to, you know, there's hard conversations. I think when we were like 7 years in, we were really in the thick of it. 2 kids. The boys are 3 years apart. And it was just so much work. I mean, you have little kids. Like, I mean, I'm starting all over with Bryn.
Yeah.
You have back-to-back pregnancies, you know, like you have little kids. And it was hard. That's hard.
Yeah.
Like my sister just had her 3rd baby. She has a almost 4-year-old, a 1-year-old, and a 6-month-old. I mean, her little girls are like 14 months apart. I mean, she's in the thick of it. And I remember we were so at each other's throats and I didn't recognize us.
Yeah.
And I think we were drunk one night and I was like, he snapped at me and I was like, I don't know if I can do this forever.
Yeah.
I really said that. And we came home and like, I had never, ever said things like that ever, you know, and it scared the shit out of him.
Yeah.
We came home. He poured me a glass of wine. We were already 3 sheets. Right.
Yeah.
And he's like, Katie, I love you. Like, but it took me to get to that point where I was like, I had enough.
Yeah.
And it scared him enough. And it scared both of us enough. We were like, whoa, okay.
Yeah, something needs to happen.
We need to be with each other. Like that, you know, that was a breaking point in our marriage where actually a rebirth, I feel like, because since then, like we never we had drifted too far.
Yeah.
And I was like, we're never going to do that again because I love him. I'm in love with him still. Like when people are like, oh, I don't really love my husband. Like I fucking hate him. I'm like, you know, there's days where I don't like him, but I am madly in love with him. Like I really am.
Yeah.
But it's hard. Like, you know, do I want to have sex with him every day? Hell to the no. But when we have sex, is it always good? It usually is.
Yeah.
And like, I mean, I also tell people I'm a big proponent in like spice your fucking sex life up.
I need to do that. I need
get
to
a toy.
I don't have one.
Oh my God, Mary.
I know.
So
I don't have one. I had a
7
vibrator
years, right?
company reach out to me for a collaboration.
Shut the fuck up.
And I honestly wouldn't be against it because I do sex confessions and I'm really into, like trying to normalize it, but I don't have I've never used vibrator. I've never ever in my life used one. So for me, I'm like, I don't feel comfortable like saying you should get a vibrator when I've personally never used one in my life.
Yeah.
Although that would be funny for like me to be like, I've never used one and this is the first one I'm using. Let's give a report.
Yeah. I mean, I actually can't believe I lived so long without any toys and I lived alone in Manhattan for many years. I mean, I was having like sex on the regular, but with that 7-year itch that we got, I was like, we need to spice this up. Yeah. So I bought lingerie and I was like, I wanted to like make it sexy. And I was like, I want you to pick out some toys, Mary. And
what did he pick?
Okay. So I was like, get me something fun. And he, you know, I mean, I please my man, right? Like whatever he wants, I give him anal like once a year. I've got to be pretty far in, with tequila. Like there's got to be tequila, but you know what this man ordered?
Did you get hemorrhoids during pregnancy?
I didn't actually.
Oh my God.
Thank God.
You didn't get hemorrhoids after anal?
No. I mean, like I said, it's a quick, I'm
That's
usually
never
like,
happening.
you got about 13 seconds.
Yeah.
You know what this man ordered? He ordered an anal starter kit, butt plugs.
Oh God, dude, you better be careful and make sure they don't get stuck in you.
I've never used them. Are you out of your fucking mind?
You should.
I was like, someone hacked our Amazon account. And he's like, actually, no, I ordered them. And I'm like, are we using them on you? Because there was like a baby, a mama, and then like a papa anal starter, like butt plug. Dude, and I was like, no.
Would he let you put them on him?
Yeah. I was like, why don't you bend the fuck over and let's see how you feel about these. We never use them. They're still in the box, by the way.
Oh God.
But
maybe Christmas, maybe New Year's, 2023.
This.
What is that? That looks familiar. I've seen
you guys, obviously you're not watching. I have my little pocket rocket. I don't know. This is fun.
What do you do with that?
It's a dual purpose, but it's really not.
What does it go by your butt?
You could, but I don't do that. Like I said, that is really an exit.
I need to go to like a party where they have these things or something.
Yeah. I mean, like I've never, this is something like new to me too, like in the last few years.
Yeah. I need to
we break this thing out and it's vanilla. Like,
I'm vanilla.
We were too. I mean, listen, like I think you just, think sex, like, okay. But like when we broke this thing out, it has like different settings.
Yeah.
It's really crazy. So I'll send you the link, Mary.
Please
and I'm sure any of your followers
affiliate link. affiliate link, but
Yeah. Oh my God.
yeah,
I
no,
mean, toys are fun. You have to spice it up somehow.
I know.
I mean,
I
if
need
I
to
plan
do
on being
that.
with him for 50, 60 years.
Well, that's the thing. It's like that's what needs to happen. It really does. And Kev doesn't have like the biggest sex drive. Like that's the thing. Is like we've talked. That was something that like women have submitted. Like, what happens if you have a bigger sex drive than your husband?
Yeah.
And Kev and I are pretty equal in that.
Yeah.
I think if we both are on a like a roll, then we'll have sex as often as possible. If we're in a good
Yes.
mood for like relationship wise, if we're in a good place relationship wise, then we can have sex all the time.
That's what I'm saying. Like communication's key,
Yeah.
you know?
But if not, then we're okay. Like I feel okay about not having sex. Like I don't feel like I'm craving it all the time, like or anything. And same with Kev. Like he's not someone
Isn't
that's
that
like,
nice though? Like you're on a mutual, like there's really no pressure. I've never felt pressure by Keith ever. Like,
no.
and I'm like, I'm always like, thank God, because it makes a difference. You don't feel like, oh my God, is he going to go fuck someone else now?
No,
Because I didn't have sex.
no,
You know?
I've never even thought of
Same.
that in my life. There was one time when I not that I even thought that I had a crazy pregnancy moment. He was down in Florida visiting a friend for a wedding,
Yeah.
and he fell asleep. And I called him, and he finally woke up, and he answered all groggy, and he was like, "What?" And I was like, "Oh my God, I couldn't." Well, no, I hung up. And I couldn't even talk to him because I was in tears calling my sister saying he's cheating on me.
He's cheating on me. I know. I've done the
And
same.
I'm like 35 weeks pregnant, so pregnant, folding laundry at home with the kids. And my sister is like, we still laugh about it where my sister was like, Kevin, like to this day was like, Mary, you need to call him. Like, you're insane. Like,
yeah,
Kevin, and we were talking about it, we're like, Kevin is too religious to ever cheat on me. Kevin is so by the book.
Yeah,
religious.
that's Keith. I'm telling you, we married the same man.
Yeah.
Like sex drive is like, I mean, he always will, he'll never say no, but like, he is not someone that's like, I mean, like aside from the other guy, he's not grabbing me and pulling me into closets and shit.
Yeah.
But I don't want that either. Cause I've had that. I've had the whole, like, let's have sex every day thing. And I'm like, oh God, no, like leave me the fuck alone.
Yeah. No.
Cause I mean, as women, like, it's just not, we're not driven that way.
No,
but it's,
no. And I need someone to know that, like, I don't want to feel guilty.
Right.
About it. Like anyone that makes me feel guilty about it, like that's red flag. So if you're about to get married, if someone's making you feel guilty, like right now, like I think that's a pretty important thing. I don't feel like that's something
very important.
Talk about. It's like aligning your sex drives and figuring out what that's going to look like and what's going to happen if you take a little pause because that's going to happen.
Yeah, because that happens. Like my sister, and if she listens, she's probably gonna be like, Katie, but her husband is extremely sexual. And like, he's the type that like always wants sex. And I mean, she literally had back-to-back pregnancies, the poor thing. But like, sometimes it's hard. That's hard.
Yeah.
But you know, and the thing is like, she just had her third baby. And I mean, I remember, I think she was like 4 weeks postpartum and she's like, and C-section. She's like, we had sex. I'm like, you're out of your fucking mind. That was honestly the last thing on my brain.
No,
I was just trying to get back to normal. Yeah. I was like, okay.
I was still bleeding. I think I was still bleeding at that
point. I'm like, good God. Like, yeah. But hey, whatever floats your boat, you know, I just feel like sex is, you have to have sex with your partner. Yeah. People don't want to say like, oh, it's not about the sex, and it's not, but man, like there's a big part of me that like, if I'm not having sex with my husband, something's wrong. Yeah. You know, like whether it's him or me, like, and I've been in relationships where I've been getting cheated on and I knew because sex stopped, you know? So like, and not that that's happening. Please God, don't take this the wrong way. Anyone listening, if you're not having sex with her, he doesn't mean he's cheating on you, but like, try to make it a priority. And I always think like sometimes when I'm like, oh, I really don't want to do this, but then once we get going, I'm like, this is fucking fun. Why don't we do this more often? And I'm like, oh, it's because these fucking kids drain us dry. Like literally. I'm just like, all right, where's the lube? Yeah. Pour it all over me, please.
Oh my God. Just completely. It's like a big ketchup bottle. It's like,
I like the good old spit in the hand. Just
plump. Oh God. Well, and for Kev, so that's a taboo subject. Kev and I actually wanted to record a subject on this because I've asked this before. We use condoms and people think because I don't take birth control. I've never wanted to be on birth control. I do not want an IUD. And we have a very easy time getting pregnant and we don't want to get pregnant. So when we don't want to get pregnant, we don't want to be pregnant.
Condoms are very accessible, easy birth control.
Easy.
Would you use
And
like the
it's
thin
so,
ones? Like
yeah,
what?
it's like whatever. It's whatever he gets. Charge him. But we like it's so taboo, and I haven't talked about it on Instagram stories because I'm so like I'm actually nervous about it
You
because
don't want
it's
to get
so
flagged?
well. It's not flagged. It's like people for some reason I've actually looked it up because I think it's only 4% of married couples use condoms. That's
Yeah.
how low of a percentage it is because it's when you're married, usually people just consider it not. And
Yeah.
some people like think that like the reasons why people use condoms for marriage, like statistically, is because they have a disease or they have an STD. That's not the
Yep.
case for either of us. Or sometimes they think like because the other person's cheating. And I'm like,
Yes.
again, not
Not
happening.
happening.
Just
Yeah.
because we have a very easy, we didn't mean to get pregnant with Haley as quick as we did. We literally,
I think I
thought
remember you
was
talking
ovulating.
about that. You were like, it literally just happened.
I told Kev to remove the condom and
Yeah.
I thought I wasn't even ovulating. I guess I was. So like
Yeah.
it literally like if we have sex and I'm ovulating, I will probably get pregnant. Like we get pregnant very, very, very easily, which is a
So
blessing.
amazing.
But I don't want to take anything and I don't want him to have a vasectomy. So I'm like, I'm not ready for
Yeah.
another baby right now.
Yep.
And I'm not good
Yeah.
enough to like track my ovulation. Like I know I could probably do like the strips and find out when I'm ovulating. That would
Yeah.
take like dedication on my
It is. I've done them in the early pregnancies. I did them and it does. I mean, you have to like, I was taking my like basal temperature, like before you even get out of bed, you take your temperature, you track it. Like and there's so many people that have to do that. It's kind of scary how, it's just fertility is kind of going down the drain. I mean, so many people are struggling to get pregnant.
Yeah.
But there are a select few, yourself included, that very easily get pregnant. My sister just sneezes and she gets pregnant. So.
Yeah. So, and that's why it's like, I've always wanted to talk about it. I talked about it like, I think I shared it to like, what do you use? And like a few people messaged saying like condoms, but I think I'm so weird doing it. And I'm like, it's not weird.
Actually, I have a friend that just had a baby with her boyfriend and, they started using condoms again. He was kind of like, but she knows she's not ready for another baby and she does not want to take birth control. I tried to get back on birth control at one point after Declan, after my middle one, and it literally made me crazy. Like literally
that's why I can't
crazy.
get on it. I was on birth
control.
control.
I was like, nope, not for me.
Birth control back in college and I went insane. So
yeah,
I can't take that shit. But condoms also for me feel better. Like
they have the lube on there. Like it's kind of like
it's a little bit more, especially like when you're postpartum, if you're a little bit drier or if you have a little bit of scar tissue down there, it just feels a little bit better. So FYI, if you're in pain,
don't knock the condom game.
And it makes Kevin last a little bit longer, so it works.
Yeah, because I mean, exactly. Right. If there's anything, you don't want no 2-pump chump. No thanks. No. Or sometimes you do.
Sometimes you do. I was about to say that.
Like just do this. Like
fine. Like
bend me over. Just do what you got to do.
Yeah, I don't need a whole long sex sesh. I just need like 10 minutes.
Yeah, right. I remember when Keith and I first got together, we were like rabbits, like anyone else is, right? Yeah. And I think we were in my New York City apartment. I mean, literally, you can like lay across the floor and you'd be touching both walls.
Yeah.
And we had sex 7 times in one day. And like, sometimes I'll bring that up and I'm like, remember when we literally had sex 7 times? Like, how did your dick not fall off? Like, now I'm like, bring that little hairy dick. Yeah. Like, it's just like, I mean, sometimes I want to go back to that, but then I'm like, you know what? Like you said, give me 10 minutes. I don't need like 45-minute hour sex sessions. No. I'm tired. Put me to bed.
Make it quick. But it's about not, what is it? Working smarter, not harder.
Yeah. And that's why anyone that's listening, have fun with it. It doesn't have to be that serious. You can literally like, there's times when like, if I glance and like, look, like Keith always says, like, you close your eyes during sex. And I'm like, but if we catch eyes, like we kind of giggle.
It's so
like,
awkward.
It's like,
yeah, it's so awkward.
So weird. I'm like, I know you, like I know everything about you, but like I literally can't have sex with you and look you in the eye. Like, I don't know how there's women that are like, look at me. And I'm like, oh God, I could never.
No.
No,
I want to pretend. Do you have a fantasy that Keith won't do?
No, because I've literally lived out all my fantasies in real life before him. Luckily, I mean, he is.
You got wild.
Insane.
You dabbled in both sides, right?
Yeah.
Shit.
And, I mean, I was very open and I was at a point in my life where I was like, you know what? I was living alone in New York City. I had gone through a really bad breakup. I thought I was going to marry this guy. He broke my heart into a million pieces. And I kind of had like 2 years of crazy.
Yeah.
And there are times where I was like, what? Like now I look back, I'm like, if my daughter did the things I did, I would fucking kill her. But I regret none of it because it led me to him, and I never have to question or never think, I wish I did this, or I wish I experienced a woman, or I wish I experienced a threesome. Like those things, like they're in the past, and I can like close that chapter and say I did it.
Yeah.
And it's fine. And Keith knows everything. I have told him, like I had told you before we started, recording, but like I've told him everything about my past. So like I never wanted to be shameful about it.
No.
And
no, sex is shameful. That's the thing. People.
Yeah. I mean, that's why like you get those followers that are like, I don't really like sex confessions. It's because they're not comfortable with sex.
Yeah.
And I think, be a little more open-minded, people. Yeah. If you're listening to this and you're like cringy, it's okay to be like that. But
it takes practice to get to
it takes practice
level. Like, it's not a comfortable thing, especially when you're raised and like, I don't talk this way with like my mom, or like even my sister is kind of hard to talk to her about.
I cannot talk to my sister about sex. Ew. No. We both are like, ew.
Yeah.
Like we get creeped.
Yeah. Same. So we don't talk about this, but it's like my sister-in-law and I can talk about it, which is actually really funny because she's married to my brother. So I'm like, I kind of have to forget that she's married to my brother, but we can talk about it very easily.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, fuck, you're with my brother. And I'm like, oh, gross. But
I know. There shouldn't be any shame behind it. It's a very natural thing.
It's your body. And
it's your body. We are humans, and human nature is there's a huge part of sexuality in human nature. And if you feel like exploring things, like, I mean, I could never like do the things I did back then with my husband, like threesome. Like there's women that have open relationships. That's something I could never do. I'm way too jealous and way too insecure about things.
Yeah. The amount of people that message me after like on sex confessions about threesome.
Your sex confessions are mind blowing. Like the people that submit these things.
I want to see if I can pull up ones that weren't shared. Let's see.
I'm sure people are listening like, man, this is a really long podcast. Isn't it fun though? Like, I just feel like we're just hanging with the girls. Yeah. It's just us. That's fair. Yeah. The sex confessions, some of them, like when they really, I mean, they tell you the nitty gritty. I mean, some of these things I'm like, oh my God, who are these people? Like, what do they look like?
Yeah. And I honestly don't remember who submits in what. Like, I always remind people that. I'm like, I don't care what you tell me because I don't.
Yeah, you're probably getting thousands of confessions. You know?
I don't remember. Let's see. Always wanted to have a threesome with 2 guys.
Yeah.
Immediately after we had sex, I'm assuming there was like probably an orgasm. It was like squirt because they'd use emojis, just like squirty. Our toddler, after our toddler, we thought was asleep, said, "Mommy, I hear you."
Oh my God. That's another thing. I'm like, we got to start closing the door.
38 weeks pregnant. I still want my husband. My husband loves to eat me out. And then I love when he kisses me so I can taste myself.
Wow. Well, what about that? Good for you, honey. Hopefully you're nice and clean and not fishy that day.
Oh, no. Currently having the best sex of my life with my husband. Divorce is now not with my husband. I'm currently having the best sex of my life with not my husband. Divorce is now my New Year's resolution.
Oh, wow. So she's
not divorced yet.
Wow. Scandal.
Yeah. My now husband accidentally sent a dick pic to our friend when we were sexting.
That's one thing that we don't really do because my husband is a little vanilla in that way. Like he doesn't want anything on his phone that someone could see.
Yeah.
I one time sent him like a full blown nude. This is years ago. I had just had my boobs done. I had a rockin' body.
Yeah.
And I sent him a nude, and it was at the point where iPhone, like any picture that went through text just showed up on your like lock screen.
Oh God.
And it was sitting in the firehouse, and like 5 guys walked by and like saw me like completely naked. And he was like calling me. He's like, "Don't you ever do that again." And I'm like, what do you mean? I sent you don't guys want this?
Yeah.
He's like, "No, I don't want this. I know what you look like. I can fantasize about you in my head. Don't send me any pictures." And that's another thing. Like Keith, he never sent me a dick pic, and that's how I knew I was going to marry him.
Yeah, I don't want ever a dick pic.
Ew, like
Penises
Dicks
are
are ugly.
not cute. I'm sorry. Vaginas are not cute. I don't know what God was doing when he designed them, but I think he got a little lazy. I don't know
I got a
what
little lazy. Boobs, face. Okay, but yeah, everything else, I'm good. I don't need to see it. Turn the lights off.
No. Yeah, please. God. Let's see. My boyfriend's mom walked in on us when I was giving him head.
Oh, good Lord.
See, sweet God. Oh, I can't being a mom. If I ever walk in on that, you have more of a likelihood of that.
And me having two boys, I'm gonna die. Like when they start having sex, I think I actually might die. I'm gonna have to like go in like to therapy then because I don't think I can be able to handle that.
Better to not know. Let's see. Had a few double dicks a couple of times. Double dicks.
Maybe one in the pink, one in the stink.
Probably.
I
love when my husband fucks my mouth.
Wow.
That's hardcore.
That is pretty hardcore. I'm not really about the mouth fucking because I'm like, there's a little bit of
I have like certain things where if Kevin touches my head, I will beat the shit out of him. Yeah. I told him that. I was like, you are not to touch my head. You're not to put your hands on my head.
No, never
allowed to do any of that because it feels like degrading.
It does feel degrading.
I'm like, do not touch my head. I don't think he doesn't mean to. I'm like, just don't. Because sometimes he will. And I'm like, stop.
Yeah. Because they get into it. I'm like, don't do that.
Yeah, don't do that. My first boyfriend 20 years ago used to say, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, when he was coming.
Oh my God.
Let's see. Oh God, my son found my vibrator and had a good portion of it in his mouth.
Oh my word. Yeah.
It was clean.
Today, my boys were in my room and like they were going through my drawer here where I just pulled out that toy and I was like, get out of there. They've definitely found like as babies, they're like, found it. I'm like, okay, this is no.
Cassie will pull up like the bottles of lube and like make them
What's
talk to each other.
Mom?
I'm like, shut up. Kind of want to try butt stuff, but kind of also gross knowing what comes out of there.
Yeah.
Agreed.
From someone that has dabbled in that only with my husband, because I feel like it's really something, it's just not, I'm not a fan of it personally. I don't think anyone is, although I did have a friend that said she loved it. And I'm like,
I have a lot of friends that say they love it. And I'm like, no, thank you.
Yeah, no, thanks. I mean, my mom says it's a gateway to the devil, but that's, the Catholic guilt.
The gateway to the devil.
Yeah, I'm like, okay.
Let's see. Asked my significant other where he's had sex in public, and he said he bent some girl over in a cemetery. Ooh, well, that's
holy fucking shit. Talk about conjuring ghosts there. Jesus Mary.
Yeah, God. Let's see. Sometimes I have fantasies about having a threesome with my husband and his friends.
This comes up a lot in girl talk, like when I'm with my friends.
Yeah.
I have a girlfriend who it's just a fantasy of hers. She wants a threesome. And I'm like, no, sweetie, you don't want a threesome. You want to be with a woman. You want to experience a moment with a woman.
You want a reason to get with a woman.
Exactly. So, like I tell people like it's hard because she's been with him for so long since she's young. And I'm like, then play out that fantasy. Like, I don't know. Like, I don't know if her husband would call that cheating. I don't know. Like, because I guess it would be cheating but
it would have to be
I feel bad for people who have these crazy fantasies that really want to experience that and they never have.
Yeah. I mean, everyone that messaged me said like, do not ever have a threesome because everyone that they've known have had a threesome have ended up divorced because it always turned out really, really,
really horrible because then for women, it's like okay, fine. But men, like they feel like it's like a portal that now they can just
do whatever,
bring women home all the time.
Yeah.
No, yeah. Cause like, I mean, in my past, it's mostly married people that have like propositioned me. And I'm like, whoa, that's weird. Like, yeah,
that's not on my radar. Kev, I know has had a threesome.
Yeah.
In college.
Yeah. Like these are things like, I feel like
I don't even know the details of it. Like I know he said he was involved in one. He could be lying. He's probably lying. But that was never on my radar. Yeah. I know I was always voted the friend that my friends always wanted to make out with.
There you go.
I was always that friend. I never did. No, I've never been with a girl. Never been with a girl. It's not nothing against it. I just I'm straight.
No, I mean,
I'm very
done it,
straight.
and I'm like, yeah, I like men.
Yeah, I'm very straight. I can't. It sounds intriguing. I've seen lesbian
It
porn.
is.
It's kind of hot, but
It is. I mean, especially, I mean, porn, they look beautiful and their bodies are insane,
yeah,
you know, like,
but it's not my cup of tea.
yeah.
Let's see. Okay. I attended an orgy. It was a chaotic sausage flinging party.
Yeah. Like
Too
orgies would
much.
scare me. Like, it's just like you walk in, like people, there's
Ugh.
literally sex parties.
Yeah.
You know, it's like those things actually go on. They really are real. And I have a friend that used to bartend these like parties, and like everyone's just fucking everywhere. And it's that to me, there's not, I mean, if you're listening and you're like, I go to those sex parties, like good for you. But like, holy God, I
Yeah.
would like to be a fly in the wall.
Yeah, I would do too. I would just like want to go peep in real quick.
I want to be a voyeur. Like, I just want to walk through one of those things and be like, what in the world is this?
Yeah, I would need like 5 minutes and then I'd be out.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel a little, yeah. That's a little, yeah, I don't know. Not my thing.
No.
I would love to know, whoever is listening, if this is your thing, like message one of us and be like, that's my thing.
Yeah. Another one, I pegged my boyfriend.
Yeah. Okay. This is a very,
I don't want to have anything to do with Kevin's asshole.
Never.
No.
If Keith was like, bend me over and put this up my ass, I'd be like, okay, we're divorce court. Like, what is going on?
No way.
No thanks.
In hell do I ever want to venture near his asshole where I know I know grizzly shit's going on down there. I don't need anything to do.
I think one time I like tried to like grab, like, just like to see what he did. And I think Keith actually almost slapped me. He was like, don't you ever do it.
Yeah,
that.
No, same. That's Kev. Kev was like, fucking get away from my butt.
Yeah.
Let's see. Ever since having kids, I find it difficult to deal with the sweat and saliva part of kissing and intercourse.
So,
overstimulation. That's an overstimulation thing.
You know, I actually can chime in on this. If we ever make out, because I mean, like I said, who has time to make out? Like, you know, we're usually just getting right to it. But I could see, like, sometimes I'm like, oh, like, it is an overstimulation thing.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah, it totally is. It's got to be an overstimulation thing because it's a lot, especially.
It's a lot. Like, think about like when you're like young 20s, like making out, tongue kissing, like, I mean, you just even like do that for
never even like my jam. It wasn't even ever like my jam. I like kissing, but I'm like,
yeah, like heavy petting, but like the tongue in the mouth, like down the throat. No thanks.
No, it's like,
no, I'm like,
it's like middle school. Blech.
Right? Middle school. Totally. That is a middle school thing.
Who really French kisses anymore?
Yeah.
Let's see. I used to work at a sex toy shop. Older couple came in looking for a strap on because she broke his dick.
Being in the medical field, that does happen. Like,
I've heard about that. That's terrifying.
I've seen it. I've scanned, you name it, I've scanned it in ultrasound.
Yeah, right. I like when my husband tells me all the dirty details about his sexy time with exes.
Oh God, no. Nope. I'm one of those, like, I think I remember Keith and I were drunk once and I was like, let's talk about our past. Like, you know, and then I told my whole like sexual past, and then he told me about his, and I was just like, I fucking hate you. I think this is like early on in a relationship. I was like, you're skank. And what a man whore you were. And like, he's like, you just told me everything you've ever done. And I'm not even
different.
Angry in Europe. Yeah.
Yeah. It's different. Let's see. Sometimes watching sex on Pornhub is better than with my boyfriend.
Oh man, get a new boyfriend, girlfriend.
Yeah, get a new boyfriend. You gotta, or watch together. See what happens.
Yeah, if that, and there's plenty of people, or I've had friends that like make their own tapes, like with each other. But I never want to see myself on camera having sex.
Ever fucking want to see my body in that way.
Nope. I'm like, yeah, I think I could.
It's enough
in my head when I'm having sex, I am one of those porn stars. That's what I look like in my head. I'm like, I am a porn star right now.
Yeah,
like,
no, I know I don't look like that. That's why
and then
these days, because I looked down once and I saw my like big pit bull. They look, you know, when a pit bull is nursing a million babies and they're just like a bunch of long, elongated nipples. That's my life. And I looked down, I was like, I'm good. I'm good. I don't need to ever see myself ever again.
That's hilarious.
I have a really sexy body these days with a jacked up vagina and long salami nipples. It's all good. Someone said I would have to quit social media if I told you all the things I fantasize about doing to my husband. I'm like, well, you should tell me. Don't hold back.
Don't hold back.
Another wife used a dick gag on me while our husbands watched. A dick
gag.
Like gagged her with
gagged her with like a dildo?
Yes. Shit.
Like, how do you ever like do that? And then the next day you're like, hey, Janet, let's go to dinner. Like,
this girl that's giving me the confession, she always submits and stuff.
Okay.
And she's like, and I obviously won't say who it is, but I just recognize her because she's always the one. She gives me the most hardcore stuff, but she's so sweet. Where after like she messaged me and she said, I just have to tell you, thank you for never making me feel
and honestly, like,
because I said, I don't care. I don't care.
As long as you're being safe, as long as it's consensual, and as long as you're being respected, have fun with it. Like, you know, if you want to be dick gagged.
Yeah, like go ahead. You're not doing something wrong. Like,
no.
If someone came and confessed something really fucked up in here, that would be a different situation.
Yeah, if they're like, I'm being bound and gagged against my will, that would be a major issue.
Yeah, like something perverted, like totally fucked up. Like that would be probably, it's just sex. This is your kink. Who gives a shit?
Yeah.
Let's see. There's a lot, but some of these aren't as juicy. I'm coming.
The ones you usually post are usually like, holy moly. And I love when you always like do a funny face or like some sort of like crazy filter when you're reading them. It's like, you're like, the Buzz Lightyear. I mean,
yes. Okay, actually, let's go to that because that is we'll do this and we'll wrap up on this.
Yeah.
On the strangest things people have found in someone's ass. Let's read. A male apple stuck up his ass, a squash, a gerbil. I had Nikki Entman on a while ago.
I love her. She's hilarious.
We were last time she was on, we covered the like few sex confessions. We talked about that, the gerbil thing. That's a real thing. People put gerbils up their ass.
I know. And it's the weirdest thing. So like
apparently Richard Gere did that.
I could see him doing that. I wouldn't put it past anyone.
If
that's
you Google
gross.
it,
so, like,
Richard, if you Google Richard Gere gerbil, apparently that's like a rumor that he did that.
Shut the fuck up.
Yeah, I don't know
he probably had to be rushed to the ER for it. I've personally scanned patients with like shampoo bottles up their ass.
Why?
Yeah. The thing is, people are just like, let's put anything up there. But the thing is, it's a sphincter muscle, and once it's up there far enough, you cannot pull it out.
Oh.
Your body will only create a suction and bring it all the way in.
Oh God.
So if you're into butt stuff, you better be fucking careful because you'll be running your ass to the ER.
Men put crochet needles up their urethra.
Oh my God. What the fuck? That is, I'm sorry. That's like
Imagine
a torture.
If Keith put it up. What if Keith was like, hey, by the way, I've done this before.
I would die. Like,
get the fuck out of my house.
Yeah, like you're putting nothing in your penis hole. I'm sorry, no. Unless it's a catheter when you're like 80 years old. Like, please, good God.
Okay, this is cracking me up that someone put this in because it's not the question. I think she misunderstood the question. She said, well, actually, a birth nurse came in to check me after tearing and she lifted my butt cheek and a fart flew out. That's not.
Oh, sister, that's okay. But you know, those postpartum nurses, those mother baby nurses, they're awesome.
They're awesome.
I remember after my C-section, like some of the best feelings is when they came in and like they washed you down.
Oh yeah.
With that peri bottle and they just like clean everything away. And it felt so clean. And I was like, I'm so sorry. She's like, oh, I do this all day. Yeah. Like, it's just like, and I get it. Like I see boobs all day, right? People are always like this, but I'm like, oh, it's just, for them, it's just, okay. It's just a postpartum vagina, you know? Like,
let's see. Butt plugs, spray paint. Ooh.
Yep. Spray paint bottle for sure. Cucumbers, lots of fruit.
A lot of glass.
Oh, the thing is with glass, you can perforate through your anus.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Someone said, only thing I'm finding in my butt these days is all my hair from my postpartum hair loss. That's so so
it's
true.
not so much my butt,
It
but
is.
my
It
husband.
is so true because all of a sudden you're like drying yourself off, and you look and you have like a big strand hanging from your ass crack, and you're like, oh God, that's so true. That's so funny.
You know, my hair is literally to my ass crack. So like when I find these
how do
hairs,
you
it's
not?
just like
Your hair is in your ass crack.
it is. It's
Yeah.
insane.
Your hair is insane. Let's see. A tampon. Ooh. Tampon. Yes.
No thanks. No.
Someone said my shit because it's only an exit hole up in here.
Yeah. You know what?
Fake
I'm
feelings
leaning
from a
more
2-year-old.
towards that.
There's a lot. You guys are great.
Yeah.
My gay uncle got a KY jelly cap stuck in there once. Ended up with a visit and some tongs.
Yeah. I mean, let me
My
tell you,
gay uncle.
yeah, when people come into the ER, it's like, what's your problem? It's like, something's in my ass. And like, I love the excuses they'll give. They're like, I fell on it. Like they don't want to admit like we were playing with butt shit. And, you know, I mean, it's just the excuses people will give is actually really funny.
Yeah,
so
no, it's great.
Well, this was exciting and fun, Mary. I mean, I don't want to talk sex with anyone else but you now. Like, this is hilarious.
We're gonna have to do this again. We're gonna have to have a good sex chat every now and again because
it's good. Because if not us, then who? I mean, really, people are so demure and weird about sex. Like, let's make it normal. Let's talk about it. It could be fun. It could be hilarious. It could be messy.
Well, especially because it's like like the kinky stuff after, like that is the way to spice up marriage stuff. And I think it's like, if we don't talk about it, like you're never going to be adventurous to try and do the spicy stuff that's going to hopefully save your marriage and make you happier and make your kid happier. And like sex will save.
It will.
Sex saves.
Sex saves. It does. I mean, it's saved a lot of marriages. I mean, you do have to spice it up. You have to make it exciting. You know, monogamy can be monotonous, right? Like to be with one person for the rest of your life. But honestly, there's something special about that too, because you can recreate yourself within your marriage as well in a good way. Yeah, and I think we should just go with that. Yeah. You know, and have fun with it. Sex should be fun. It is fun, and it should be fun, especially when you love your partner. Yeah. It should be fun for sure. Yeah. Well, until next time, my beautiful friend, thank you for having me on. If you guys are listening, you can follow me at mommy_needs_more wine. And you guys know where to find Mary. I mean, she's everyone's Instagram bestie.
Hopefully.
You are. You're the best. I enjoy you. I love you. What you're doing every day for so many women is insane, me included. So you're just a ray of light.
You're the best.
Another episode down and way more to go. But thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed this episode and you would like to help support this podcast, I would love for you to subscribe. I'd love for you to share it with others and post about it on your own social media or leave a rating and review. I cannot tell you how helpful and how appreciated those things are for me. Of course, to catch all the latest from me, you can follow me over on Instagram at The Very Merry Life, over on TikTok, The Very Merry Life. And even if you wanted to check out my monthly newsletter, you can do so by subscribing over at theverymerrylife.com. I'll see you next week. Stay tuned for more honest, raw, real chit chat. I have some amazing moms lined up coming on, and shit's going to get fun. So buckle up, Buttercup. It's going to be good.